You guys need to bring a politician in here because you're going to have a lot of questions for them, too.
Well, we have them in, but only the cool ones, like our boy Ron.
We had Tulsi Gabbard. She was cool.
She was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's big time.
I gave her hell. I called her a fucking Russian asset.
So I wanted to get your opinion on this. It was an incident that just happened over in Oakland. They're having a lot of problems out there. Their police force is pretty spread thin with all the crime that's happening. So there was a 76 station where 80 to 100 people just rushed it, ransacked it.
Oh, 80 to 100?
It's one of those ones where they have a street takeover, then afterwards everyone's crazy,
Dude,
so they just go to the nearest.
By the 100th person, there's no like chips or anything.
So
You're gonna take out like motor oil?
So they looted everything. They threatened the two employees in there while they looted the store for 40 minutes. They stole $25K in cash from the ATM and the register.
Wow.
The owner who called the police was told to report it online. Because at the time that he was calling, they I think everyone ran off.
They're like, sorry, we have like 50 crimes already happening.
Yeah, but they also said because there's no suspect currently on the scene, we don't need to come over there, so just file it online. Wow. And then by the time the police actually came over there, it had been 9 hours since the incident.
Whoa.
So here's the video of it happening real quick.
This is Oakland, right?
Yeah. This is
Why are they such a mess?
Yeah. That's the 76 station.
What the hell?
It's like Black Friday at Walmart.
I know. Like, is that guy trying on clothes?
Yeah. Trying on clothes.
You got this in a medium? There's anything in the back.
So they just ransacked it, just took everything, wrecked it.
S-cams are pretty good.
Didn't some huge big box retailer just leave Oakland for good? Like Target.
So that
Target left San Francisco.
This 76 station happens to be right next to where the In-N-Out used to be, the only one to ever leave.
Wow.
Oh,
That's the one I was
so that area is so bad.
It's going through it.
I thought a lot of businesses left Oakland.
Yeah. They did, but In-N-Out's never left anywhere. So that tells you something.
Why is Oakland so fucked up? Like, I have no idea.
Bad leadership. So I just came back from management school, and it's made up of lieutenants from up and down the state. And we had an Oakland guy, so I had some intimate knowledge. I don't really know much. I didn't know much about Oakland. The PD itself.
Raiders. Oh.
That's exactly it. That's all I knew. So this guy, they had a major leadership problem. They went through 3 chiefs in 2 weeks. 3 police chiefs in 2 weeks. That's unheard of for a city that size.
Is it because they just gave up on, like, they came and they're like, nah, I'm good?
Politics, bad leadership from the city council, mayor, all the way down. So
they resigned.
They got fired. So when you're a city that big, you don't do like an internal search, you do a national search, right? And so they brought in some heavy hitters. Well, they got this one lady from New Orleans who was rising her way through the ranks over there, and the people at the PD loved her. She was very effective. She lasted the longest. This is the 4th chief after the first 3. I'll go back to them in a minute. But the 4th chief, she did really good. She was there for a year. Things were looking up. New reforms were happening. Areas were getting cleaned up. Well, she's at a city council meeting, and her deputy chief is getting berated by the mayor, getting yelled at and chastised. The chief comes in and says, "You will not talk to any member of my staff that way, because we're not children. We're professionals, and we've got to act as professionals." And it settled out. The next day she was fired.
Wow.
For standing up for your people. They're doing the right thing. And that's why I talked about being a municipal chief.
That's why they fired her?
Yeah. Because you're at will at that point. You don't have any rights. You're you're contractually at will. They can fire you for any reason.
Right.
So can't the people fire the mayor?
Yeah, they can, right? But by the time the re-election cycle comes again, it's forgotten about. And they've created interference and other stories to make them look good.
She could have really made a big difference then.
And the 3 chiefs prior to that, they were internal candidates, and they were being thrown under the bus by people above and put people below. So
politics?
Yeah. And unfortunately, bigger cities, LAPDs, Oakland, San Francisco, they have that. A lot of instability and bad leadership at the top, because kind of like a tornado occurs when you have cold air mixed with hot air. And the same thing occurs at a police department when you have the mindset of leadership one way, but the mindset of the troops are different. And then when we hit the middle, a bang happens, right? So it's very rare at big agencies where you have everybody from the top down sharing the same culture. That's why at smaller agencies, it's easier to kind of have that cultural influence from the top down. So yeah, big cities have big city problems.
That's why sometimes it's just easier to leave the city. You're like, I don't see how people can fix this shit.
I always heard of like Oakland being a rough city though.
Yeah,
But-
seems like it.
But then now it just seems like a disaster because like if big businesses are all leaving,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's a good comparison. Locally, San Bernardino had the same reputation as Oakland. Crime was rampant, but they got a new chief. His name is Goodman, and he was tough on crime. He was tough on gangsters. Created gang task force that were previously defunded. He allocated more funds for the gang task force, and the gangs got the message. And they had a hard time hiring officers because nobody wanted to work in San Bernardino. So this year, for the first time in the last like 30 years, they're fully staffed.
Wow.
So it's good leadership as opposed to bad leadership.
So let me ask you this: like, do you believe, like, based on your experience and everything you know, the only way to, I guess, like, get the crime level down is to be tough on it?
Yeah. So when you say bring the crime level down, that means that there's going to be some sort of enforcement, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a politician who relies on votes from the public and the criminals vote, right? You're pandering to them.
Yeah.
A politician's priority is not the people. Their priority is to get reelected.
Themselves,
right?
yeah.
And they're going to say and do whatever it takes in front of their audience that they're catering to at the time. But the way they vote is indicative on where their votes really.
Which is why in California we're always, because it's so confusing to me, because I hear from Californian politicians that being tough on crime raises crime. Like they're always saying that, like, no, we have to provide more social services. We have to provide more safety ambassadors, not police
Yeah.
officers.
And there is theoretically room for that. So they were talking about after the George Floyd thing, they wanted to send therapists to talk to violent mental.
Yeah, if they get a call, they're not gonna send cops. They're gonna send social workers or something. Like, what the fuck?
And as you recall, I don't know if you know the story, in Pasadena, a social worker responded to a domestic and got stabbed, right? And then they called the cops.
And then they called the cops, yeah.
In theory, just like communism, in theory, works, but you have to associate the human element to it, and humans have flaws, and if there's an advantage to be taken, someone's going to try to take advantage of that. And just like, so in theory, on paper, things may look good theoretically, but once you apply it and add the human aspect to it, it's not going to work. So as cops, we're watching this unfold. They're going to send therapists and social workers. That's not going to work. But people who don't know police work, it's going to work. They need therapy. They need marriage counseling. Let's send. Cool.
They need marriage counseling. That domestic abuse
Right on the spot.
situation needs marriage counseling.
Handle it
I
right
will
now.
say this though, not to push back too hard, but if you look up California crime statistics, crime is down.
Shut up. I hate hearing that, dude.
So here's my response to that.
That's the worst.
So crime
right?
stats come from uniform crime data, FBI crime data. We can only acquire stats if people call. But if people are like, why am I calling if they're not even going to go to jail? The cops aren't going to do anything. So that's why calls went down. It's an
Faith
artificial.
went down, and
Well, they're not calling.
yeah.
So
I'm just looking at the data.
that's what was shocking to me because like I remember watching like a recent news thing and then some local politicians were saying how the crime's been low in California.
Newsom said that.
Was it Newsom?
Newsom
But
said that
everyone's
as well.
like,
Yeah, I'll say that.
what
Yeah.
the heck are you talking about?
yeah, they're just not being reported.
And that's their rebuttal to you, like holding a dying person in your arms.
Yeah.
They're just like, don't worry, crime's
What's the
down.
disconnect? Like, are the people who are believing that and saying that they live in safe neighborhoods, so they don't?
Yeah, they're in
know?
their ivory towers. He lives in the governor's mansion, has CHP officers as personal bodyguards, and the people feeding him information are the people that have access to him.
So he doesn't know what's really
Probably
happening.
does, but he's also pandering to whoever's funding his political campaigns too, right? He's
Do you have any data on him pandering?
on who?
Do you have any data on him pandering?
That's our devil's.
No.
That's our resident devil's
You got me
advocate.
there.
Resident Devil's That's real good, isn't
As
it?
a police officer and as you rise up through the ranks, is there like a role that you get to where you're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna start getting subject to people that like people that get lobbied to or whatever? Is there like kind of like the danger zone where where you end up becoming the man?
Compromised.
Yeah. Is there
Yeah. So one of the most eye-opening things to me is once I made lieutenant, I was in a different category. I was considered management and a decision maker. And decision makers for government entities have to sign something called a California Form 700, I was like, what the heck is that? I had to divulge all my assets and interests in the city if I had any. Like if I owned a rental property in El Monte, I had to divulge all that. If I had stock in a company that did business possibly with the city of El Monte, I had to divulge all that. Because I'm in a position where I approve contracts and bring in different, like, you know, like, hey, this body cam company wants to come.
Yeah.
I have to divulge it if I own stock in that company, right?
You could be double dipping.
Yeah. So I have to.
Nancy Pelosi never signed that, huh?
I don't know.
Well, she divulges, but later.
But like 3 months later.
Well, she does it through her husband, so technically it's like,
her
yeah,
husband.
my
It's
husband's
nothing-
rich,
it
not
has
me.
nothing to do with her, yeah.
Yeah, so it's, you know, I just thought you guys need to bring a politician in here because you're gonna have a lot of questions for them too.
Well, we have them in, but only the cool ones, like our boy Ron.
Ron Skolsdang,
Who ran for mayor.
he's running for Mayor Irvine. We had Tulsi Gabbard, she was cool.
She was awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she
That's
was
big
great.
time.
She was sick. I gave her hell. I called her a fucking Russian asset.
He was hard on her too.
She loved it.
It's not just you, brother.
She rolled with all your punches.
She was great.
I'll take that as a form of endearment. Thank you.